Hey everyone, it's Karen. I'm missing Holly today, but I'm still going to be basically creative, or basically destructive, whichever you'd prefer. Today's actually a bit of a special one because this is a project for uni. As most of you maybe know from my previous video, I had been accepted to Edinburgh College of Art to do product design, and this is one of the first projects that I've had for a class called Object Autopsy. Now we had to pick a handheld object and take it apart to perform an autopsy on it, see what it's all about, the manufacturing processes, the materials, why might they have been used, was it to do with cost, was it to do with what was available at the time, and all those sort of things. So I chose to do cameras, and the whole idea that I was going to do was it was like an evolution of cameras, all the way going through from the first one which I've got, which is the Conway camera, through to a digital camera which I have. However, that hasn't gone to plan at all. The Conway camera I could only get so far with, you'll see as it goes on. I got a bridge camera from my lecturer, very kindly gave me a bridge camera to have a go at, and I got so far with it, and then it would not come apart. I spent 3 or 4 days just trying to get it to come apart, stripped all of my mini screwdrivers so they now don't work at all. I ended up putting it in the freezer to see if I could get all the, to make it sort of contract, and then that would maybe make space. Nope, that didn't work. I've then put it in the oven when the oven's been really, really sort of cool, but still warm, to warm it up to see if that does anything. Absolutely nothing there. So without chucking it off a building, I'm getting no further with it than I am now. Which is why I generally I say it's been a failed autopsy. But at the same time, that doesn't mean that I haven't learned anything from it. So the whole point of this is to show what I've done with the autopsy and to explain my findings from it. So that's just what I'm going to do. So without further ado, we have the Object Autopsy. Okay, so this little Conway camera was given to me by I say it was given to me by my papa. It wasn't. It was I inherited it along with several other cameras. One of which is a beautiful wee roll record that I really want to take apart actually, but I'm terrified I'll break it. So I'll maybe see if I know somebody who can help me get into that. So a couple of things to note about this wee camera, a little box camera. Was for 120 roller film, 2 1/4 by 3 1/4 inches. It had simple lenses with a fixed aperture. It had a rotary shutter, closed up lens on a lever. You'll see a little lever at the front. In fact, I think in a couple of minutes when I turn over the front bit, I sort of play with it a little bit. That had reflecting finders inside it as well, and a flash synchronized with a 2-pin contact. Now this was one of the synchronized versions. Obviously they had a few different versions of this camera. This one was, I think, the 1950 one. Might have been a little bit older, a little bit newer, sorry, than that, when they actually started putting a bit more into it. I just love this camera. It's made for purpose. That's what it is. It's all metal, a little bit of plastic sort of inside of the front, but generally the whole casing's metal. It's all moulded, and it is like there's a little bit of adhesive. You'll see a wee bit later on when I show you the bottom part in the photographs. There's a little bit of adhesive at the bottom of the sort of back of the case, but otherwise it's just one moulded bit of metal that's been shaped, and then whatever needs to be inside is inside. Obviously inside the outer casing you've got the part that holds the film and sort of allows the film to roll around, and that is so simply made up. It's just beautiful. It's just made up of these different bits of metal with tabs that fit together, and then the tabs are folded over, and that holds it in that position. And it's so beautifully uncomplicated. You know, those pieces that I'm arranging there, that's it. That's all that came out of it. Now, I couldn't get into the front of the camera because it seems to have pins in it that I have no way of removing. So I decided that because it was inherited, and because, okay, I know it's broken, but it's still beautiful. You know, it's a rare camera, so I have decided not to break into the front of this one. So yeah, this is showing you just how sort of clean it is, and you can see quite clearly the little tabs. I mean, the pins at the side, the silver pins, are only held just by the outer casing, which is held by folded tabs. I mean, it's just so simple. It's just so pretty. I just geek out over cameras. Yeah, this is where you can see that the front part has been sort of put in with adhesive. And you know, you've got your little flaps for allowing the light in and things, but it's just such a simple design, and it doesn't need any over complication. However, then you get to this thing, this beautiful beast, which is where everything kind of started going a bit wrong. It was going really, really well at first, and then I thought, alright, okay, take all the screws out the front, that's nice, and all out round the sides, and oh wow, look, I've got more screws than the whole of the Comrie camera just getting round the outside of this. Okay, now this is obviously a lot less metal and a lot more plastic. Freya dog, lie down. Down. So yeah, there's a lot of layers to this. This is like Onion Camera City, this is. There's so many layers. It's all just layer upon layer upon layer upon layer of stuff. Like, there's so much stuff in it. And your little screen, and then you've got your, you know, your little boards for the words escape me. Whatever, circuit boards, that's the one. So yeah, lots of little circuit boards that obviously control all the electrical goodies that you can use in this camera. But it's just, it's odd. I feel it's just so clunky compared to how simple the vintage cameras are. And okay, the vintage cameras didn't have to show you a picture on a screen and all that kind of stuff, but surely there's a less clunky way of putting stuff together than Onion City. You know, but on this, as you can, well, you may have seen just a second ago, there's sort of circle indents, and that's obviously where the machines of the mass processing have been either sort of, it's been held onto or like used in the press, because this is all, you know, mass production really. It's not handmade like your lovely little Conways. It's you know, chuck it in a big machine and out pops the camera, or maybe more than one big machine, but you know. So yeah, I did manage to get quite a way into this, and you know, there's sort of getting a viewfinder off and getting all the little bits of plastic off and getting down and getting the screen off, and this is where I started to struggle. And this took me days and days and days, and I still haven't got into the thing, which is annoying because that was me after taking it in the freezer. It's annoying me because I really, really want to get into sort of get in about the lenses and how the lens mechanism works. Happily though, I managed to get into the thing. Woohoo! Yeah, a second go in the oven did the trick, I think. So yeah, I mean, it was still, I'm having to use my jumper there to untighten them because they're still really tight to get out, but I did manage to get them out, which was super duper. I'm so pleased by this. So yeah, that's me getting into it and managing to get into it. I didn't actually, I thought there would be more bits that came out of the lens, but apparently not. I mean, this is clearly not made for anyone to get into. That's the difference between the vintage camera and the bridge camera. It's taken usability out of the picture. They don't want users to be able to get in there and clean it and fix it. They want to be able to, oh, it's broke, you buy a new one. And that's basically why they're made like this, I think. The plastics are not the most robust in the world. I mean, the outer casing is fairly thick and fairly robust, but the inner plastics are really, really flimsy. Really bendable, and actually I think quite cheap plastic, but then they're not looking for longevity with these things. I think it's got to that stage where it's surpassed the buy it and keep it for years, and it's become buy it and replace it in a year, and that even, I mean, this camera's not even new really. It's a much older model, and it's still showing how far removed it is from the mentality of you have to keep it and keep it going for years and years. There's just so many bits. Going back to Onion City, it's just so many layers of tape and circuit boards and screws and plastics and all sorts, and then of course we moved on to my little compact camera. This wee Kodak, this was given to me one Christmas, I think it was 2010, 2010, and I think it worked for about 3 weeks. And then it broke, and it was sent away to be fixed, and they were like, oh, we can't fix it, and they just sent it back, and it was like, oh, thanks Kodak, that was great. But it just shows how these things are not made to last. I mean, really, you buy something, you expect it to last a good amount of time, and the more you pay, the longer it should last, and that just isn't the case anymore. This one had a far cry less in it than the bridge camera, obviously. I mean, the bridge camera has a lot more things that it can do, even though the camera was older than this camera, I would assume. And it had a lot more circuit boards and a lot more layers of plastic and things. This one actually had a layer of metal sheet in it, out with the layers of the circuit boards and the screen at the back, which again is much bigger than the screen from the bridge camera. But again, it's all the same sort of process, and it's mass processed. It's bits of metal and plastic that are moulded in a sort of mass work factory, and all of it is just put together by machines. Again, not made for people to be going into. It's made for throwing away purposes, essentially, or throwing away when you upgrade purposes, because they're not really built to last. And I think going forward with my project to redesign, I think it should be looking at how can we make this sort of process greener in a way, because all this throwaway stuff, it's not, going from an environmental point of view, it's not great. So how can we make it better for the environment? How can we still have a business and not put yourself out of business by making something that nobody ever needs to come back to you for anything? How can you do that without building something that is going to break and get chucked and you have to buy a whole new one? And I think that's going to be the challenge. But there we are, three autopsies, 3 different cameras. Very clearly my favourite is the Conway camera. It's always going to be the Conway camera. And yeah, so thanks for watching. If you liked, don't forget to comment and subscribe. Feel free to suggest anything you'd like me to take apart. I'll definitely be putting more object autopsies on the channel, because it's always nice to have a tinker and see what's inside things. Well, that's all from me. I have been Karen. Holly's not here. but I've still been basically creative. Bye!